In two previous videos, I introduced a laser-guided croquet swing trainer system. But why do we need a swing trainer? It's because when you cast over a ball to aim, you can see the mallet when it's out in front of you, so you know if it's straight. But on the backswing, it's impossible to tell if the mallet head is straight or twisted, and it's the backswing that's most important. So you spend hours on a swing trainer trying to teach your muscle memory how to pull a mallet back straight. Well, have you ever been to a show or fair and watched wood choppers in action? They stand on a log and swing a razor-sharp axe to within inches of their feet. Why do you suppose they don't swing the axe like we swing a mallet? Firstly, because they couldn't get enough force that way, and secondly, because they'd end up chopping a foot off. So it's occurred to me that we don't need swing trainers at all. We're simply facing the wrong way. That's why we can't see the mallet head on the backswing or get enough force into some shots, and it's why we lift our head sometimes. We just have to face the other way and all those problems go away. Okay, most of the problems go away. So how do you aim? The same way Stephen Mulliner aims, of course. Or like this. You stand your mallet up, then you get down and sight along the head to line it up with the target. If you drill a hole through the shaft, you can line it up perfectly. You then go around the other side and look through the hole the other way and find a tree or plant or a chair leg or something to aim at. You then cast over the ball, aiming at that other target. You keep casting until you see a swing that is perfectly straight, then you strike the ball. What could be easier than that? Okay, so a game's going to take all day, and half of us aren't going to be able to get back up again after we lie down, but hey, that's progress. Governments have been doing that sort of thing for years. Anyway, if that idea doesn't catch on, maybe we can at least make a few changes to mallet design instead, to help people like me who struggle to hit a ball straight these days. A mallet with a high moment of inertia is supposedly the bee's knees. Well, if you increase the head from 12 inches to 17 inches, and put lots of weight at the ends, like tungsten end faces instead of brass ones, for example, you can achieve a moment of inertia that's over double that of a Pidcock 3000, which I understand has the highest moment of inertia at present. As you can see, it's still very playable, mainly due to raising it up off the ground with the centre block so the front edge doesn't hit the grass. Combine that with some lateral thinking on shaft design and you can't go wrong. That grip is legal, or if there's any doubt, then you just make it with bends like this. It's not much good for stop shots, etc., but it's great for clearing in GC or hitting in AC. You just have to roquet, separate the opponents, lay up, and then swap back to your normal mallet, because for some strange reason you're allowed to change mallets between turns in AC. If you play with a Solomon grip, you might prefer one like this. It also makes your stance symmetrical. If you put your fists against each other so all fingers are touching, like this, they form a V, so it makes sense to shape the grip like that. Each grip is oval-shaped, and they're angled differently to suit the two hands. If there's any question about the legality of it, then once again you can make it as one continuous shaft that goes up, across and back down again. Even though the laws allow bends and variations in the shaft, 99% of us still use a plain straight shaft. Instead of changing the shaft to suit our hands, we force our hands to adapt to the shaft. With all standard grip styles, one or both wrists will be bent at a sharp angle at some stage during the swing. So why not bend the shaft instead of the wrists? Mallet manufacturers Oakley Woods and Coles-Royce sell bent shafts. Oakley Woods has an excellent page describing them. I'll put links in the description. A single bend seems to be good for Irish grip players like Robert Fulford, who plays with one, and their double bend appears good for standard grip players. But there is a problem with both designs, and that is that the hands are no longer above the mallet's centre of gravity. One extra bend below the existing ones would fix that. Oakley Woods suggest that the single bend shaft can be used with a Solomon grip by facing the bend forwards, but I made one and it just doesn't work. Firstly, with both hands in line, it is difficult to prevent sideways movement of the head. Secondly, it puts both hands forward of the centre of the head, which makes it more susceptible to twisting. It also puts the top hand further forward than the bottom hand, which throws the stance out of balance. I therefore created a prototype shaft to correct those issues. I'm using standard 25mm plastic electrical conduit and fittings for prototyping different designs. The conduit actually makes a surprisingly good shaft, stiff with just the right amount of flex. You can buy a bending spring that goes inside it to bend it cold, or use a heat gun, which also allows you to make tighter bends and other strange shapes. I've also made a rough 12-inch head with a little bit of lead peripheral weighting for testing the shafts. This is my initial prototype to straighten the wrists when using a Solomon grip, but to avoid the problems a single bend causes. It vertically aligns the hands and the centre of the head. It isn't satisfactory though, because the middle bend keeps the hands too far apart. My next version will reduce its thickness to about 3mm, or whatever is required to make it stiff enough to prevent the top section from flexing. If it proves satisfactory, I plan to create a 3D model of it and have it 3D printed. I can get 3 or 4 sample designs printed by a commercial 3D printer for $40 Australian. One of the plastics they use is a nylon carbon fibre blend called PA6-CF, which is very strong. One of my mallets has a tubular shaft, so I'll cut it down a bit and then add a square section to the bottom of the 3D printed grip that slides down inside the tube. I'll fasten it with screws initially, then epoxy it in when I work out the most satisfactory grip. There's another theoretical benefit with such a shaft. With a normal shaft, if you hit the ball off centre by more than a couple of millimetres, it doesn't matter how much moment of inertia the head has, it's still going to twist, because the diameter of the shaft is simply too small for the hands to be able to prevent it. If the grips are angled at 45 degrees, the effective diameter of the shaft more than doubles, providing twice the leverage to prevent or delay the rotation. The resistance is also no longer simply frictional. The mallet and ball are only in contact for around 1 millisecond, so that's all the delay that's needed. One possible downside is that any slight twitches of the hands during the swing will have an increased ability to cause the mallet to twist. Only experimentation will show which effect has the most impact. Even without bending the shaft that much, there are other smaller changes that can be made to improve the playability. Most shafts in cross-section are longer in one direction than the other. If you have one of those, take up your normal stance, close your eyes and grip the shaft in one hand in the most comfortable position. Open your eyes and note where the head is pointing. Now do the same with the other hand. You'll discover that the two directions are most likely different. The reason it's a problem is because neither wrist is in its preferred orientation, which means the wrists are fighting against each other. If they're both relaxed, then there's no fighting. The solution is to orient the oval or octagonal shape differently for each hand. Some mallet makers allow you to specify that as an option. Having said that, I just realised I need to redesign my zigzag design because the two handles are in a straight line, which means the wrists are fighting against each other. I've now modified that handle so it hangs perfectly straight with each hand. The left hand top grip is rotated right, and the right hand bottom grip is rotated left. The bottom grip is also angled forwards more than the top grip, so both wrists are bent the same amount. Because with a straight shaft and Solomon grip, the wrist of the lower hand is obviously bent more than the upper hand. Both hands are also vertically aligned with each other and with the centre of the head. It feels and plays much better now. Small bends can also be introduced to correct minor grip problems. My laser revealed, for example, that when I address the ball, the mallet shaft is leaning about 2 degrees left, such that the top of the shaft is under my left eye instead of under my nose, something I had never noticed before. That means the plane of my backswing will be tilted. On the forward swing, gravity will pull the mallet more vertical, meaning the head will tend to move to the left and hit the ball off centre. You can't just bend the top of the shaft left, because the hands will no longer be vertically aligned, nor vertically aligned with the centre of the mallet. So I created another prototype shaft with each hand grip tilted 2 degrees left, but with a kink in between the hands and below them, so the hands are vertically aligned and also directly above the centre of the head. Each grip is oval shaped, and the ovals are also rotated relative to each other by around 10 degrees. One way to prototype what shape and angle best suits your hands is to buy some kids' plasticine or Play-Doh. Make a 200mm or 8-inch long sausage that is oval or octagonal shaped, then grab it with both hands as though gripping a mallet shaft and twist and bend it into the most comfortable position for each hand. Commercial 3D printing provides a simple and cheap method of creating the final product. Just cut down your existing mallet handle. If it's hollow, you can slide the new section straight in, or if it's wood, drill out a hole that part of the new grip can then slide into.